Welcome to the Human Capital Innovations Podcast, your go-to source for personal, professional, and organizational growth and development. We hope you tune in often for all things people management, organizational development and change, organizational leadership, and social impact related. Maximize your personal and organizational potential with Human Capital Innovations Podcast. Welcome to the Human Capital Innovations Podcast. In this HCI podcast episode, I talk with Stephanie Puente about self-leadership and resilience. Stephanie Puente, welcome to the Human Capital Innovations Podcast.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Yeah, I'm super excited to have this conversation with you. Today, we're going to be focusing on something that's really, really important. That is self-leadership. So on this podcast, we talk a lot about organizational leadership, about people management. We talk about how to lead our teams, and that will come into some of the conversation today as well. But to be able to effectively lead others, it starts with self-leadership. So we're going to be exploring that and how to do that effectively. And coupled with that, we'll be talking about resiliency and the role that resiliency plays in self-leadership. As we get started, I wanted to share Stephanie's bio with everybody. Since 2014, Stephanie Puente has helped business owners and professionals to hone in on their authentic life path and empower them to create and live a life they love living. Having earned multiple certificates from the Brave Thinking Institute, she also has more than 25 years of study and personal development backed by a professional career that includes 2 decades in marketing and communications, business administration, and even planning for the Four Seasons Hotel in New York City. Christie's Great Estates, the real estate division of Christie's Auction House in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and an international law firm in Washington, D.C., and an award-winning children's music school in Austin, Texas. She's a graduate of the University of Texas and continues to invest in advanced training and education through BTI. Stephanie has been happily married for more than 20 years to her husband, Sebastian, and has 2 daughters, Sophia and Paloma. What a wonderful and diverse background you have. It's truly a pleasure to have you here. As we get started, anything else you would like to share with listeners by way of background or personal context?
Well, just that I want to acknowledge the listeners for tuning in, for investing your most important resource, which is your time, into your growth and to your development, and that today is an opportunity to hear some concepts and ideas that will support and serve you as you are endeavoring to create and lead and offer opportunities for others that are important to you. So it's a privilege and an honor to be here, and I look forward to the conversation.
Thank you. Well said. I feel the same way. I feel honored that people would take time out of their busy day to tune in and listen to this. I'm not anyone special. I'm just some dude here in Utah who likes to sit down behind a microphone and talk to cool people around the world. And it is a privilege and it is an honor to have people, tune in and look to us for just a little bit of insight, perhaps, and ways to hone their skills and what they're doing in their personal lives and in the workplace. So I echo your comment and really do appreciate everyone who's listening. I probably don't say that enough on this podcast. Well, Stephanie, with your varied background, you have lots of experience in really interesting places. For example, I imagine we could have just a nice conversation just about your experience at the Four Seasons, but I don't want to take too much time on that. But I am curious, before we really launch into the topic, how did you get to where you're at right now in terms of making that switch in 2014 to focusing on working with businesses and professionals around this idea of self-leadership?
Well, I've always been passionate about personal growth. I've always had a desire to really discover who I am and who I'm capable of becoming. And I've always been passionate about growing and learning and really pushing past, what holds us back, what can keep us stuck. And had always had a deep desire to speak and teach. Never really knew exactly what I was going to speak and teach on. And also had a passion for helping people to create. And so the first version of that was really helping people, having a burning desire to do event planning, helping people to create experiences through events. And so that took me to the Four Seasons Hotel, and then continued to stay on that path. And that took us, my husband's profession moved us to Washington, D.C., and had the opportunity to plan in-house events for a law firm. And then also when I was in Santa Fe, working with the real estate division of Christie's Auction House, helping real estate professionals to market their properties, but also planning events for them to help them provide the best marketing services that they could for their clients. And then took some time off after I had my children, and still wanted to be able to bring some income in, and had an opportunity to support a music school that was just launching. I really wanted to I've always had a desire to do purposeful, meaningful work as well. And I could see that this was a wonderful opportunity to help get the word out. And so wanted to help this particular business owner share her gifts and talents and create the school that she wanted to create by supporting her and her marketing efforts and event planning efforts to really grow this school, and ended up doing that work for about 10 years, which was wonderful. It really framed, I had the opportunity to work from home, which was a passion of mine, so that I could still be present for my daughters for that early childhood period. But all along, having that longing to really make a greater impact and really bring my unique, authentic expression forward. And in 2014, discovered the Brave Thinking Institute and began working with principles that really are life success principles that we can find, from so many spiritual studies and philosophies and principles that were put together in a way that really helps to understand how we grow, how we transform, how we take an idea, a dream from our mind and bring it into the landscape of our lives. And that there's a process of really understanding and really working with that, with our thinking, to really harness it and use it in service of, and understand that each one of us is meant to create and to express. And that as we really lean into that life-giving vision, that desire, that we discover the path, the resources, the opportunities, the solutions, they're all here. And really learning that we don't have to make it happen all by ourselves, but we make it welcome by really learning how to live from that vision, that unique, authentic expression that each one of us, I believe, is here to give and do. And so that's what led me, and then the discovery of that I could be trained and certified to teach these principles to really help others. And I knew that was the path. That was my next step in this journey of really supporting people and creating what it is that matters to them.
Well, that's wonderful and very inspiring. I love hearing people's stories, and I love hearing the arc of your adult life and home life and professional life, and the balance that you've been able to strike, and focusing on different pieces at different points in time. Anyone who listens to the podcast knows I have 6 children. It's a juggle. But it's so fun and it's so rewarding. And not that that's the right, the one right way for everybody, but for me and for my wife, that's certainly been a huge, wonderful opportunity and blessing. And so we love it. And it sounds like you've embraced, a similar kind of a path, and it's challenging, but quite rewarding. Well, so in everything you just said, you were really, in my mind, you were alluding to this idea of self-leadership, but maybe you can be a little bit more specific and explicit with listeners right now and explain, define for us in your mind, what is self-leadership and why is it important?
Yes. Well, I believe it is the ability to lead ourselves every day, and sometimes moment to moment, in an empowered way. coming from a chosen design, having clarity of vision, clarity of who is it that I am choosing to be, and then endeavoring to align our thinking, our way of being, and our action to serve that chosen way of being and leading myself in that way. And the ability to hold state with that in the presence of circumstances and conditions that may not be to our preference, in the presence of challenge, in the presence of uncertainty, in the presence of difficulty, and really causing ourselves to hold state with that and continue to take actions that are aligned with that chosen design, and that it requires us to know what it is that we want and who we want to be, what matters to us, and really that ability moment to moment to really give ourselves that command of this is who I'm being, and then give ourselves the command, this is the action that I'm taking, and to be able to navigate the circumstances of our lives from that empowered place. And I believe that is mastery work that I know I'm endeavoring to live into each day. And as long as we're growing, we're constantly developing and sharpening our skills to continue to endeavor to come from that, because we're stretching, challenging old beliefs, releasing those so that we can make welcome the new experiences that I believe each one of us are wanting to call in.
Yeah, I love that. Living an empowered life, leaning into the uncertainty, the complexity, and just adopting a growth mindset and recognizing it's a lifelong process, right? Nobody arrives. Those people who feel like they've arrived, I'm sure they have their successes, but the likelihood is that they won't find ongoing sustainable fulfillment if they're not continually trying to grow and progress. And so I love that. And it doesn't mean we need to grow and progress into the next promotion and eventually become an executive, a CEO. We can grow and progress without any formal job title, right? Without any specific, it's not about what society often tells us is measures of success. It's not about the money. It's not about the cars. It's not about the titles. It's not about the position, the power. There's something much deeper and more foundational than that, that will bring us actually true joy, true contentment, happiness, and peace, I think.
Yes. And really allowing ourselves to know, like, what is that true joy for me? What is that true peace for me? What really matters? And learning that as we lean into what truly matters, that there is time, that we can, do those things that we want to do and still really be present for what really matters most, which is, I know for me, my connection with my family, to be present for these important moments of, childhood, these important moments of this stage of life, and to know that we can be present and feel all the feelings that come with all the many stages of life, that they're not meant to dial us down and keep us stuck or reinforce some belief that we may have adopted, but that we really can be empowered through all of it and continue to show up in a way that is with integrity, and to be fully present for everything, and that we can make it through, if you will. I know for me, all of the many feelings that come from life, and not let any one thing dial me down to feel like it's not possible for me, whatever that thing is that I'm thinking isn't possible for me.
Right.
Not let circumstances dial us down.
I'm excited to announce the publication of my new book from HCI Press, The Alchemy of Truly Remarkable Leadership: Ordinary, Everyday Actions That Produce Extraordinary Results. Consider how the nature of work has shifted over the past 50 years. With increased globalization, rapid technological advancement, and the shift in economic composition, the average job of today looks very different than the average job of 50 years ago. What will the jobs and organizations of tomorrow look like? Moreover, what does this all mean for organizational leaders? What are the core competencies and capabilities of organizations and their leadership that are prepared for continued disruption and geopolitical and socioeconomic shifts? Regardless of what the future holds, increasingly, leaders need to be socially minded, data-driven, decisive, champions of talent, and disruptors of the traditional notions of leadership, teams, organizations, and work. The alchemy of truly remarkable leadership will help you to explore your own leadership competencies and capabilities and consider ways to apply and implement them into your workplace and personal life. Right. I love that. And that I think it's human nature. Like, we just tend to fall into that mental trap. We get worn down, we get beaten down by life and the messiness and the complexity and the hurt and the pain and the emotional and psychological baggage that we carry forward. And so being able to practice, mindfulness and being present in the moment and letting go of, we have to deal with, trauma and pain in our lives. We can't ignore it and pretend like it didn't happen, but we also, we can process it and we can work through it, and then we can let it go and move past it. So we're not constantly ruminating on it, and allowing it to drive us and control our behaviors and what our choices. Right. And so for me, self-leadership is a wonderful approach that allows us, to authentically sit within the reality of our context. My reality is different than your reality. And, we're both white, for example. I am a straight male, and I have all these privileges. My experience is very different than so many other people, many people listening. And that's okay, right? I sit within my experience, within that difference. I learn how to thrive within my circumstance and hopefully how to give back to others who may not have the same privileges that I do. And ultimately, that's how I can grow within my sphere of influence, my sphere of opportunity, and hopefully I can empower others to do the same.
Yes. And I think being in a situation where you can allow all of the differences and not trying to change anything, but to be fully present with what is, and knowing that as we bring our best self to those moments when there's challenges, when there's disagreements, when there's difficulty or what looks like a lack of understanding, that as we lean in and bring our best self by just being present, knowing that it's okay that we may not know the answer or what the solution is or how best to respond, that if we can just be fully present and allow that, we can make the next right thing welcome, if you will. We can allow what is seeking to come forth, come through us, if we can just stay present and let it be okay that there are unknowns right now, and that even that can bring a sense of empowerment to what looks like is challenging and can help us navigate that challenge from a greater space of peace and ease.
Yeah, and that connects really well to the other portion of what I wanted to touch on today, and that is resilience, right? So much of self-leadership is about just the grit and the determination, the resilience to, you're going to fall down, get back up. I've lived in many Asian countries, and there's this Asian proverb that we have, kind of Western equivalents of, but the essential notion is fall down 7, get up 8. You got to keep on getting up. Everyone's going to fail. Everyone's going to have setbacks. Everyone's going to have disappointments. What separates those who are able to find fulfillment and contentment are those, who don't give up, who don't procrastinate, who just keep on trying, recognizing that sometimes it's going to be 1 step forward, 2 steps back. But if you're consistent, you keep making that effort over time, you will grow into those new opportunities And, you'll get 5 years down the road and you'll look back and you'll be amazed by how much you've done, how much you've grown, where you've gone during that time, even if it seems almost imperceptible as you go day to day.
Yes. Yes, and I think we can lead ourselves each day and building that sense of resiliency by having that clarity of vision, reconnecting back into why it matters. Why is it that I am doing what it is? What is it that I want to create? That we can work with our thinking to ask empowered questions, to source ideas on what are the qualities that, as I think about my vision, as I think about what's important to me, what are those qualities that I can endeavor to embody today, and I can trust as I come from those qualities of being fully present or listening or bringing my very best to the moment, that I can make welcome the ideas and solutions for next steps, that I can recognize today is a fresh start, and that it's okay as well to seek out and ask for support around us, because oftentimes it's easy to let the facts and the conditions dial us down into believing, or making agreement with the conditions, feeling limited by what's happening outside of ourselves. And it's important to have others in our life. It's important to study. It's important to tune into podcasts like this, where we can come and be reminded of some truths, where we can be reminded that we can stretch our thinking, that we can think in a new way. And that day by day, as we endeavor to do those things, it can help us to stay resilient, to have that fresh start, to keep getting up again and again, because we're connected to why it matters to us. And so these are all important practices that we, endeavor to live into each day. And we never arrive, because, as long as we're here, there's new growth to be had. And finally, too, really understanding and bringing a sense of compassion to ourselves, that it's natural and normal for that fear, for that doubt, for that discouragement to come up, and that it's knowing that it's not meant to keep us stuck, but rather it's here for release and letting go, and that we absolutely can pattern in new ways of being and new ways of thinking. And we make those new experiences welcome by just being willing to have that fresh start, get up again. Today's a brand new day. And who do I need to be now? And oftentimes when I'm feeling discouraged and I find myself, and that's an important thing, I think, is the ability to really pay attention to and notice what we're noticing. That so often we can just be asleep to the stories that we're telling ourselves or what we're giving our attention to, and we're reacting, and it's kind of reinforcing some old ideas. But as soon as we recognize that that's what we're giving our attention to, we can actually pause and interrupt that, and that we can work with our breathing and breathe ourselves into the present moment, remind ourselves of why it matters today that I'm creating, why it matters that our team is endeavoring to create this new objective, this new project, this new product, and connect back into that. And then remind myself, well, who do I need to be now? What's a quality that I can bring now? And that as we just practice with that, that's really the daily work. And we discover through that process that that's how we build that new experience, lay down that new pattern of operating that makes that growth welcome.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we referred to at the very beginning of the episode, this self-leadership approach that we've been discussing, it is foundational to personal fulfillment, personal success, personal peace and happiness, but it's also foundational to us being able to effectively lead other people. So a lot of times people they're in a new role at work, for example, and now they manage people, they're in a leadership position, and they don't have a lot of leadership background or training. And so all of a sudden they'll go get a book or they'll listen to a podcast and they'll think, what can I do to be a more effective leader? Now, there are tips, there are tricks, there are skills and competencies you can develop to be more effective as a leader within the workplace. But in my experience, in organizations I've worked with, if a leader hasn't done the internal work on themselves, if they haven't done the self-leadership first, they almost never are particularly effective as leaders in an organizational setting, because they just don't connect authentically with their people, and they just come at the situation from a very different place. But those who are truly remarkable leaders, uh, they tend to be individuals who are genuinely authentic within themselves. They're individuals who have lots of self-knowledge and understanding, which then helps them and enables them to be able to better understand the people that they're serving in the workplace. So everything we've been talking about today, listeners, you may be thinking, well, why are we focusing so much on individual stuff? I want to know how I could better lead my people. This is how you better lead your people. Start with yourself, focus on making those adjustments. And then over time, you don't have to do one first and then the other. I mean, it can happen in tandem, but over time, as you're focusing on developing your self-leadership, your abilities in your team leadership, your organizational leadership will also be able to be enhanced.
Yes. And it's reminding me of a couple of sayings, that I've heard, all leadership is self-leadership. How I do one thing is how I do everything. How I am with myself is how I am with others. And as I am patient, as I am kind, as I am forgiving, as I am compassionate, as I am understanding with myself, and I come from that, and I lean in to what is life-giving to me, and am authentic, I can't help but inspire and support others in being that for themselves. And this idea of as within, so without, as I come from that, I can't help but support others in that as well. And so just trusting as you endeavor to live into what matters to you, those qualities of being that matter to you, and really discover that you really can be that, you naturally support and lift up others as well through that process, has been my experience.
Yes. Thank you, Stephanie. It has been a real pleasure talking with you today. I see that we're short on time, but before we close, I wanted to give you a chance to share with listeners how they can get connected with you, find out more about your work, and then give us the final word on the topic for today.
Thank you. Well, if for the listeners who would like to learn more, they can visit my website, stephaniepuente.com. There's opportunities each week for people that are interested in investing some time and really getting clear on where they are right now, where it is that they would love to be, and what their next important steps are. They can reach out to me to schedule some time where we can focus on you to support you in gaining that clarity for moving you forward into your next level of growth. There's also opportunities on my website to sign up on my mailing list. I offer monthly presentations, webinars that I give. And as you sign up for that mailing list, you can be kept abreast of when those next monthly webinars are. And as we close out our discussion today, again, I want to celebrate, each and every one of you for being here, for investing your time into your growth, and to just think about, one idea that really resonated with you today, and to make a decision to experiment with that, and it can be something as simple as beginning to pay attention to what you're paying attention to, and to realize, wait a minute, no one gets to think my thoughts but me. I can choose to put my attention on anything at this moment. What would I love to give my attention to in this moment? To practice with your breathing when you find yourself feeling reactive to, situations that are occurring, or you may not know what the next steps are in terms of how to handle the situation. That as you take a few deep breaths and you connect into the present moment, that the answers, the solutions are here, that you make it welcome by asking those empowered questions, and simply just determining, what's a quality that I would love to lead with in this moment, and to experiment with that, but to pick one thing that really resonated with you and to experiment with that and try it on this week and allow it to see how it serves and supports you. And as you do this for yourself, you will naturally get better and better at supporting others even more in doing that for themselves as well.
Well said. Well said. Thank you, Stephanie. It has been a real pleasure talking with you. I encourage listeners to reach out, get connected with Stephanie, find out more about what she can do to help you. And as always, I hope you can all stay healthy and safe, that you can find meaning and purpose at work each and every day. And I hope you all have a great week.
We are excited about the launch of HCI's new magazine, Human Capital Leadership. Human Capital Leadership is a free, interactive e-magazine designed to help individuals, leaders, and organizations find innovative approaches to maximize their human capital potential. We will be publishing issues quarterly in August, November, February, and May. Check out the first issue and let us know what you think. Thanks again for joining us for this episode of the Human Capital Innovations Podcast. I hope you stay healthy and safe and that you have a great week. Check out our new weekly LinkedIn newsletter, Alchemizing Human Capital, exploring industry trends via original research and interviews with executives and thought leaders from across the globe. We look forward to having you join us.